Hey there, welcome back, home loan shoppers. We are in chapter 4, section 2. And just as a recap, in section 1 of this chapter, we covered what to do before you contact the prospective companies that you're going to be shopping at. And in this section, we're going to cover what to do when you contact that prospective company. And if you are just running across this video for the first time, this is a home loan shopping course. The outline that you see next to my head is in the description of this video, so you can go back and catch up to where we are right now with the past videos. This is also part of a playlist, so the next video should play right after this one if you want to stand by for that. All right, so let's go ahead and get into section 2, what to do when you contact the prospective company. So most of you are going to initiate your initial contact by telephone. A small percentage of you will go into like the bank or the credit union to do that initially, or maybe apply online. Most of you are probably going to do it over the telephone. Okay. So when you establish that contact over the telephone, make sure you have your pen and paper or pencil and paper ready, because I do want you to take notes. So you're going to ask a few questions related more towards the company and a few questions related more towards the individual. Although, as you're going to see, even the questions about the company are kind of directed towards the individual. So let's kick it off. So the first company related question, you want to ask them about the loan process. You don't have to ask exactly how I have it written down, so I'm not going to tell you to ask it a certain way. I want it to flow naturally from you, but you want to know about their loan process. So you can ask something like, hey, could you explain the entire loan process to me? Now, you want to get your information out in the beginning before you get wrapped up and forget, because they're going to want to take you to a broad process, take you on their whole sales pitch, but you will take their defenses down quickly if you just get into your questions, because what they don't want you to do is immediately start asking about interest rate, because that is the fateful question that people do. They first want to tell you all about the company. And if they find out right away that you want to learn about the company, oh, that's just going to make their day. So you want to kick off the questions. If they start to take you down some process, you're like, hey, that I do want to hear about that. Thank you. But there's a few things I wanted to ask you before we forget. So can you please tell me about the loan process? What's going on with that? Now, you want to take notes on that, because you are going to compare that to the other company and see what the differences are. Secretly, what you're doing is seeing the loan originators, how familiar they are with the process, how smooth they can deliver that process to you. This is really important, because you want to get a loan originator who has been at the company for a while and they are really, really familiar with the processes. This is important. Later on, I'm going to show you, because this loan originator, the person that you're talking to that's going to eventually take your application, the one that negotiates the terms and whatnot, those folks, and the one that they quote you the interest rates, those are the licensed or registered mortgage loan originators. And they are more important than most of them let on to be. They are going to be instrumental in making sure you get the best deal possible. And if you don't get the best deal possible, it's because their fault 99.9% of the time. It is your loan originator's fault. So you want somebody that is really, really good. Preferably they've been at the company for a while and or in the industry for a while. But if they haven't been at the company that long, if they've been in the industry for a long time, they're still going to be able to perform like you want them to. So that question, you do want to learn about the loan processes. So take notes, but also this is a test of the agent's knowledge, how well and how strong they are. And this is going to be important later. It's going to be important in getting your loan approved. It's going to be important in getting the best deal. It's going to be important for shepherding your application along the process as fast as possible. Okay, so take notes on that one. Next, you want to ask them something like this. Again, it doesn't have to be the exact questions, but another idea is who will I make the loan payments to after this loan is done? who do I make my loan payments to? And again, you're testing you want to know about this, but you're also testing the loan originator's knowledge that you're talking to, how smooth they can deliver that. Is the company going to be servicing the loan, or if they're going to sell it within like 30 days or so? Now, it is okay if they're selling. That's not a bad thing if they're selling it, because most of them do. But you want to know a little bit about the company, how they operate, and there are sometimes benefits to the company that is doing the loan becoming the servicer of the loan. Again, the servicer is the entity that is going to collect the payments. And sometimes there is a benefit of the servicer and the lender being one and the same. Okay. Not necessary, but sometimes there are benefits to that. So ask a question like that. Who do I make my loan payments to? And also maybe throw in something like this: and what loan payment options are available? For example, like biweekly, okay? Like making your payments online, like making your payments in person, maybe for some of you old school folks, or having the payments come out automatically, things like that. So ask, how, what happens, who do I make the payments to after the loan is complete, and things like what type of payment options are available. You want to see how smooth they rattle that off, and also what options do they have. You might want to do bi-weekly when this is done, and maybe they don't offer bi-weekly. Maybe they don't have an option where you can just go online and make a payment through the portal. It certainly would be nice if you can do that, right? You might like sending stuff in the mail. You might like having it come automatically from your bank. You might like the company to automatically deduct it, or you might want to go online and make the payment like that. So it's nice to know those options there. Say the last thing you might want to ask about the company, but ask what you want to. But here's another idea. You could ask if you have a problem, and this is important. If you have a problem afterwards and you need help, who do you call? Ghostbusters? Sorry, I have to throw that in there. But who do you call if you have problems with the loan after the fact? And this, while they might refer you to call the servicer, they might have something internally. They might be one and the same. The lender might be the servicer, and they can immediately give you this information. But you also are, you want to see what additional services they offer, and you also are testing the knowledge of the loan originator that you are talking to. All right. So, and if you come up with any other questions you'd like to know about the company, have those written down ahead of time so you don't forget. Ask, take notes. Okay. So those are a few ideas of questions you can ask about the company. One, to learn about the company. Two, to get a feel for how strong the loan originator's knowledge is about the company, because it really is important that you have a knowledgeable loan originator who is familiar with the company and their processes in and out. All right. Now, next questions are going to be more geared towards the loan originator, him or herself. Okay. And you want to have these come out natural. So I don't want you, repeating these, verbatim or anything like that. So I don't want to make these sound so robotic, but you want to ask questions like this and have it come smoothly. You want to know how long they've been doing. You want to know about them. How long have you been doing mortgages? How long have you been doing mortgages? Let them spit it out. What kind of companies have they worked at? They're probably going to bring that up, but that's nice to know that, hey, I didn't just work at a lender, or I didn't just work at this bank, or I didn't just work at this brokerage. I've actually worked for a bank before this, and now I've been on the lending side for quite a while. It's nice to have a different flavor of knowledge. Like, that's what I have. And let me tell you, it does make a big difference. Not being someone who've only worked at a bank, or only worked at a brokerage, or only worked at a credit union, etc. So ask them, how long have you been doing mortgages? And let me tell you something, most of them are going to love questions like that, and they're going to love to tell you about themselves, and that is important. And you want to have somebody that's confident and that wants to tell you about how long they've been doing this and the companies they worked for. And it'd be nice, maybe prompt them to tell you about, hey, what other companies, have they worked for? Maybe throw that in there while you're having the conversation about how long have they been in the mortgage industry. And most of them are going to love to tell you about the different types of companies they worked at, and if they have worked at different types of companies and they have been doing it for a long time, bonus, that is wonderful. That's what you want. And I'm going to tell you why after this next one here. And you also might want to ask them, but again, put it in there naturally, like what kind of mortgages have they worked with? Are they familiar with? Because let me tell you, this is 110% true. You might want a VA loan and you're talking to a company that does VA loans, but your loan originator might not have that much experience doing VA loans. This is 110% true. And it's at especially these larger companies, because it's tough for these large companies. I mentioned this earlier in one of the earlier chapters. It is impossible for these large companies to field a big staff of experienced loan originators. It typically works out where they've got maybe a core group of 20% of the originators who are really strong, who've worked, have a lot of experience, and 80% of them are new jacks. That's typically the setup at these companies, because it's so tough to hire and maintain a crew of all experienced mortgage loan originators. Next to impossible there. So you want to know that type, what type of mortgages. If you're doing a VA loan, this guy or gal needs to have some VA loan experience. You're doing FHA loan, any type of loan, USDA, you want to make sure that person has the experience. Again, you don't want to necessarily hit them up like this, but you do want to know this. This is your home. This is the biggest investment most people are going to make. This is your livelihood. This is your security. This is the place you and possibly you and your family call home. You don't want some just any old schmuck working on your loan. You want someone with experience in the type of loan that you want to do. So ask that question and make notes of that. Because that was the last question in this section last question idea I'm going to give you. That's not exclusive. If there's some other personal questions that you like to know, ask that person and jot that down. You want to know about this. Here's the reason. Okay. Everything that I just mentioned in this section leads up to the company being solid, but more importantly, the loan originator you're talking to being solid. You have to have a solid loan originator. The three most important people I mentioned before in the previous chapter, three most important people during this process: the mortgage loan originator, the processor, and the underwriter. Those are the three. Now, it is true, if your loan originator is weak, sometimes a strong processor and a strong underwriter can pick up the slack. Just like if the processor is weak, a strong loan originator and strong underwriter can pick up the slack. And if you've got a super strong loan originator, but a weak processor and a weak underwriter, that super strong loan originator can pick up the slack. You want a stud or studette loan originator. Studette, is that a thing? But you want a really good loan originator. And these are questions more directed towards them. Here's why. If you are not comfortable when you get off that phone, after I cover what I cover in the third section in this chapter, I'm going to tell you what to do in that next section. So in all these, this section, this is one of the things that leads up to what I'm going to talk about in section number 3. Okay. So in this section, this was a section on what to do when you contact the prospective lender. Questions to ask. Remember, we're not talking about interest rate. We're not talking about closing fees yet. There's a time and place for that in the following chapter. This is just information gathering. I don't care what they tell you about, oh, well, we've got a big sale going on, and if you don't apply now, you're going to crash your car. Whatever kind of crazy coercive tactics that they have to get your information right then and there. This is just information collecting right now. You're deciding which company is going to get your application. All right. So that's all you're calling for. You're calling to gather information, not to get rates, not to get fees. Even if they want to give that to you, you're like, all right, that's great. I appreciate that. But there's some other things I want to know right now. So that's what you're doing. You're gathering information. All right. So this ends this section, which is section 2 in chapter 4, video number 2 in chapter 4. And I will see you in section 3 of this same chapter shortly. Thank you so much.